2,000 years ago, an ancient evil called Hakuma no Mano devoured entire civilizations until monsters and humans were forced to fight side by side just to survive. They wounded it badly enough to drive it into hiding, and a young girl from a sacred bloodline sacrificed her life to seal it beneath the ocean. To keep the world safe, her descendants forged a legendary beast spear and used it to pin the most dangerous tiger demon in existence to the wall of a hidden basement, building an entire temple on top of him just to make sure no one would ever find him. 500 years later, a boy named Ushio eats breakfast with his dad, who keeps preaching to him about the history of their Fuganin temple. His dad Shigeru lectures him that other supernatural beings called the Yukai dwell in their world as well, but Ushio ignores his ramblings and asks for more food instead. They start fighting about Ushio's non-serious behavior, and Ushio reminds Shigeru that he keeps raving about the Yukai and a beast spear, but he has never shown him any proof. His dad then reveals that he is going for a vacation and asks Ushio to look after the temple while he is gone. After he leaves, Ushio enters the old storage room to air out some books and discovers that there is a basement in the storage room which he wasn't aware of. He pulls open the lock roughly and ends up crashing into the cellar with the whole door. All of a sudden, he feels an evil energy behind him, so he turns around and comes face to face with a legendary Yukai called Tora. The monster also feels slight surprise at seeing a human after 500 years and prompts Ushio to come near him and take out the blade. He begins yapping that he has been impaled by the beast spear that can impale any evil out there and that only a human can take out the spear, since he cannot take out the spear by himself. He asks Ushio to take out the blade, and Ushio asks him what he will do once the blade is taken out. Tora quickly answers that he will eat him alive and will devour all the humans. Ushio kicks the spear deeper into his flesh, and the more Tora tries to argue about his case, the more Ushio kicks the spear into him. He scolds Tora for being so stupid about his reasons and turns around to leave, so Tora changes his tactics and begs him to take the blade out, and in exchange he will spare his life. Ushio bluntly tells him to remain sealed forever, and then puts wooden stakes on the basement to cover Tora up before marching back to his house. Later, Ushio heads towards his school and runs into his classmate Inoue, who notices that he looks worried. He also runs into another classmate chick called Nakamura, who teases him and makes fun of him. After they arrive at their classroom, Ushio draws Tora on his notebook, and his classmates make fun of his artistic abilities. After school, Ushio heads back and decides to ignore Tora's existence for now. His classmates Inoue and Nakamura arrive at his house to get a notebook from him, and he notices weird-looking creatures flying around the girls. It turns out that the girls cannot see the creatures, but when he tries to swat at one of the creatures, Nakamura hits him in the face for acting like a pervert. Ushio runs to the cellar where he demands Tora to tell him why there are such creatures roaming around the temple. Tora reveals that Ushio has unleashed his evil miasma into the world by opening up his cellar, due to which all the weaker yokai are gathering in the temple, and soon the yukai will materialize and kill all the humans around him. Ushio asks him to help him out, and Tora tells him to take out his beast spear. He promises that he will take down the lesser yukai on his behalf, and Ushio then pulls out the beast spear after thinking over everything. Once the spear is out, Tora shoves him to the side and declares that he will eat him alive and won't care about any promises made to a human. Ushio realizes that he has been betrayed and in anger strikes down the blade on the ground. Suddenly, the blade begins to call out to him and starts to suck in all the evil miasma towards it. Ushio's hair becomes long and he releases a bout of spiritual energy that scares Tora and makes him run away from him. Ushio runs after him, and Tora strikes down all the lesser yukai that come in his way. Outside of the cellar, some of the yukai have materialized and have turned huge as well, so Ushio and Tora team up to take all the yukai down. After they have extinguished all the yukai, Ushio declares to Tora that he hasn't forgiven him yet and decides to keep him close with him so that he doesn't run loose in the world. Tora also decides to stick by Ushio's side till he can find an opening and devour him fully. One day, Tora watches a television show which has a samurai in it and attacks the TV screen in retaliation. However, he only ends up messing the whole room up, and Ushio beats him up like a child. Later, they both head to school together, and Tora warns Ushio that he is actively haunting him, due to which he should be careful of him. Tora also blocks a ball that flies towards Ushio, and since other students cannot see Tora, Ushio tells him not to draw too much attention towards himself. Inoue and Nakamura also meet up with Ushio and inform him that they had a nightmare when they visited his house, in which they saw a lot of spirits floating around his house. Inoue and Nakamura are also part of library committee, due to which they head off towards the old school building to get some books along with the other members. After they are gone, Ushio's friends tease him about being close with the school's 2 hottest chicks, and even Tora teases him, which makes him smack his head. The girls all wander inside the old building, which is rumored to be haunted, and come across a stone-cold statue of an old samurai. They begin to collect the old books inside the room, but just then, an evil miasma spreads throughout the room and jumps at the girls. In the meanwhile, Ushio attends his class and hears a voice from his blade telling him to go to the old building. He rushes out without a second thought and runs into one of the library committee girls, who tells him in tears that all the girls have turned into stone. He notices that half of her body has turned into stone as well, and he then rushes towards the other building to find the others, but doesn't find anyone there. A while later, police arrive at the school building after receiving the news that 5 girls have gotten missing or kidnapped, and the news gathers the attention of media outlets as well. Ushio asks Tora about the monster, but when Tora refuses to tell him anything, Ushio takes out his blade and runs after Tora to kill him. He stabs his hand and forces him to spill that the monster in the old building is actually a rock-eater monster which dwells in old objects and turns its prey into stone while devouring their souls at the same time. The police wander inside the old building, but do not find anything due to the barrier which the rock monster has erected to hide its presence. Inside the barrier, only Inoue and Nakamura remain while the monster has turned the rest of the girls into stone. Nakamura refuses to be scared of him, but the monster attacks both the girls with its weird-looking tentacles and turns them into stone. Ushio rushes inside the building and uses his blade to slice open the monster's barrier. It strikes the stone monster's heart, but the monster strikes back at him and throws him to the ground. Ushio loses his hold onto the beast spear, which causes him to transform back into a normal human. The barrier begins to close, and Tora rushes out of the barrier as he warns Ushio that the stone monster will devour him completely once the barrier closes up. The monster conjures more of his weird-looking tentacles and starts to turn Ushio into stone as well. Ushio requests Tora to take all the girls out, and Tora feels good that Ushio is relying on him for once rather than beating him around. He jumps inside and takes all the stone girls outside, thinking that Ushio can somehow save himself, but inside the barrier, Ushio continues to turn into a stone. Before the barrier can close, Tora steps between the barrier and shoves it open with his brute force. The rock monster hurls its centipedes at Tora to stop him, and Ushio calls out to the beast spear so that he can use it to fight the monster. Suddenly, the spear hears his voice and rushes towards him. It breaks the stone surrounding him and then lodges itself between the barrier to stop it from closing. Tora jumps on the battleground to deal with the monster himself, and suddenly an explosion occurs in which the monster transforms into 2 huge centipedes. Tora flies into the air with Ushio in his hands, and Ushio then jumps down with his beast spear. He kills both the centipedes one by one after striking them once, and uses the spear to break open the stone surrounding the girls' bodies as well. The media outlets record the whole fight while Tora flies away with Ushio to get away from them. Later, the media reports everything on the TV, which makes Tora really excited, while Ushio starts to dread his upcoming future. One day, Ushio's dad Shigeru returns from his trip and as usual lectures Ushio on the history of his family and the yokai. He preaches to him that one of their ancestors fought the infamous lightning yokai for 4 days straight and only sealed him up with the help of Beast Spear, after which he put him underground and built a temple over it to seal him for an eternity. Ushio ignores his lectures and heads out, but at the same time, Shigeru notices the beast spear in his hand. Ushio lies to him that it's an ordinary blade and heads out to meet his friends, while Shigeru comes across the blasted warehouse which was supposed to seal up Tora's shock. Ushio visits an art gallery with Inoue and Nakamura and yaps to them about one of his favorite artists named Hanya. Apparently Hanya used to paint a great deal, but his paintings turned darker and darker with time, and he painted a portrait of a girl named Reiko before dying. Tora looks at Reiko's portrait and senses a lot of hatred coming from the portrait, which makes him think that the painter must have turned into a demon. The next morning, Ushio rushes to his school and runs into a third-year student Masaki, who starts to beat him up for standing out too much. Suddenly, Masaki's attention-seeking dramatics are interrupted by another third-year student Reiko Hanyu, who asks Masaki to hit her instead. The other students whisper how Reiko has tried to end her life 4 times already, while Ushio realizes that Reiko is actually the daughter of his favorite artist Hanyu. Masaki stops his beating and Reiko then walks away from him feeling disappointed. After school, Ushio follows Reiko outside the school and asks her to model for him, but she warns him to stay away from her. She cautions him by revealing that she has the cursed shadow of her father with her, due to which all those people who try to get close to her end up dying. Ushio then runs after her in the other street, but suddenly a truck rams into him, and he saves his life at the last second by striking the beast spear at the truck. The truck gets sliced in half, and a dark shadow flies over it, which piques the interest of Tora. At a sinister-looking house, Reiko begs her father not to do anything, and that she will be joining him soon while talking to a portrait. Ushio meets Nakamura since she used to be Reiko's classmate in first year, and informs her that he wants Reiko to become his model. She reveals that when Reiko joined her class a while back, a lot of boys approached her and she tried befriending her as well, but after some time, all the boys got into accidents one by one. Soon afterwards, Reiko tried to end her life but was saved in the nick of time. Nakamura approached her one day and Reiko told her that she has a curse which hurts everyone around her. A knife fell from the open sky on Nakamura just then and Reiko pushed her out of the day to save her, which proved that she wasn't lying about anything. After listening to everything, Ushio declares that he won't let a curse stop him and will make Reiko his model. Later he runs into Masaki and they both get into a fight where they beat each other up. Afterwards, Masaki reveals that he is actually Reiko's childhood friend and that Reiko's dad went into a great shock when his wife ran away with his student. He started hating humans in general and even turned into a demon before his death. The next day, Ushio's school makes the students practice for a folk dance, and Ushio invites Reiko to dance with him when he notices that she is standing in the corner like a lonely loser. Reiko reluctantly accepts his offer, but when the two of them begin to dance, a whirlwind appears around them, and suddenly a disgusting-looking red demon appears in the wind. It announces that Reiko belongs to him only and attacks Ushio, but just then, Tora slices his arm away to protect Ushio. He then electrocutes the demon and makes him vanish from the scene. The whirlwind disappears, and Reiko comments that she will end everything before running away. Masaki and Ushio head to Reiko's house where they discover Reiko trying to end her life by jumping off from the roof. Ushio quickly throws his beast spear when Reiko jumps off the roof, and the spear delays her fall while Masaki and Ushio rush to the second floor and successfully grabs her arm to save her from falling. Masaki declares that he won't ever leave her side again, and Ushio also assures Reiko that she isn't alone in her suffering. They both motivate her to regain her composure and pull her back inside. After seeing that Reiko doesn't want to die anymore, the red demon goes berserk and restrains Reiko and Masaki. It starts to pull the both of them into his painting, and Ushio attacks him with his beast spear to stop him. The attacks do not work, and instead the demon grabs him as well and starts to pull him inside the painting as well. Tora orders Ushio to beg him for help, but Ushio doesn't say anything and gets pulled inside the painting. Tora then pulls Ushio outside in anger and jumps inside the painting to deal with the red demon. He slices his face and jumps outside to tell Ushio that he should attack the painting while the demon is stuck inside. Ushio attacks the painting, but suddenly Reiko jumps in front of him, which causes Ushio to strike Reiko as well as the painting. Nothing happens to Reiko since the blade can only harm monsters, and the painting becomes destroyed along with the demon inside. Suddenly Reiko's dad appears in a glowing light and tells Reiko to be happy before disappearing. The dark painting changes its shape to show a glowing happy Reiko instead, and Reiko then promises to model for Ushio. One night, at a construction site, the workers lift up a huge structure despite a person warning them that they shouldn't lift up the keystone. After they lift up the structure, suddenly huge ugly-looking heads float up and attack the workers. They kill all the workers and declare that they want the head of Mikado, who imprisoned them in the first place. The next day, Ushio discovers that Shigeru has left the temple after learning about the beast spear's disappearance. He also comes across the news of the construction site's accident, which makes him think that Tora must have caused the accident and killed so many humans to satisfy his hunger. He confronts Tora and doesn't listen to him as he attacks him. The two of them fight one another, and Tora flies away after declaring that he will devour any human that he can get his hands on. Ushio runs into the city to look for Tora and comes across the construction site where the recent incident took place. He notices an old man warning the police officers that they have released a yokai called Gammon, but the police don't believe him and shoves him back. In the meanwhile, Tora gets lost in the hustle and bustle of city life and feels extra happy that he can eat as many humans as he wants in order to get his energy back to fight against Ushio. Suddenly a car hits and sends him flying, due to which he electrocutes all the nearby cars to teach them a lesson. The old man shows Ushio a picture of the priest called Hizaki who sealed Yukai Gammon a long while ago. According to him, once upon a time, some Yukai ravaged his grandfather's land and killed many people, but nobody was able to stop the Yukai. One day a priest named Hizaki sealed the yokai under a keystone and warned the villagers never to remove the seal. The old man reveals that the gammon has been released into the world now, and that he will attack any woman that resembles Hizaki. Ushio believes that his friend Inoue resembles Hizaki in looks and calls up Inoue to warn her, but she doesn't pick up his call. At the same time, Tora fails to eat any human because they are either wearing perfume which he doesn't like or wearing metal jewelry which repels yokai like him. He almost gives up, when suddenly Inoue walks outside a nearby stone and Tora senses that he can eat her easily. Before he can attack her, he senses an ominous energy in the air, and suddenly several ugly-looking floating heads appear nearby to devour Inoue. The heads rush at her, but Ushio arrives at the scene and uses his blade to hurl one of the heads away. He calls back the blade and fights against the heads on his own while Inoue runs inside a building, on his instructions. The gammon heads hurl Ushio into a van and chase Inoue inside the building, but she manages to avoid them by getting into an elevator. They still float outside the building and attack the elevator from the outside, which causes the glass to get shattered and Inoue to fall from the elevator. She falls down to her death, and the gammon heads rush to eat her up, but Tora grabs her in the nick of time and saves her life. He puts her down on the ground and warns the gammon heads not to touch his prey, but they only laugh at him. He then destroys one of the heads in one blow, and another head restrains him while the remaining heads run away to chase Inoue. Tora laughs at their feeble attempts and breaking free from the gammon head. He lunges at the head and bites half of his face off. The other heads torment Inoue by pushing her around, but Tora arrives at the scene and shows them the other head's half-eaten face, which makes them furious. They all charge at him and bite his body, but Tora easily electrocutes all of them and makes them disappear with his sheer powers. The last head rushes towards Inoue to execute his revenge, but Ushio shoves the blade into his skull and obliterates him as well. He then apologizes to Tora for doubting him before, and they both start arguing with one another like a bunch of kids. Inoue stops them from fighting and offers a hamburger to Tora to satisfy his hunger, which shuts him up successfully. One day, an exorcist named Hayu approaches two prisoner yokais who are disguised as humans and declares that they have been causing too much trouble. He then beats the both of them up and exorcises them on the spot. He then comes across footage of Ushio and Tora on TV, which piques his interest, and he decides to visit Japan to meet Tora. Meanwhile in Japan, Tora attacks Ushio right when he wakes up, and they both get into a brawl for the dozenth time. This time, Tora manages to nick Ushio's eyes and scratches him hard while Ushio transforms with the help of his blade and chases Tora out of the house. Hayu arrives in Japan and uses some mysterious powers to hypnotize the airport staff into letting him go without any suspicions. As he is wandering in the streets, he then runs into some thugs who are bullying a father and a child, so he attacks them to stop the bullying. Moments later, Ushio finds Hayu beating some thugs up, and he also steps into before Hayu can kill the thugs. Hayu notices the shadow of Tora on Ushio's shoulders and asks him about Tora, but Ushio refuses to tell him anything. As a result, Hayu beats him up and even throws him to the ground to make him spill the tea. Ushio then summons the beast spear to ward off Hayu, and Hayu immediately recognizes the spear, which makes him back away. He tells Ushio that his exorcism master told him about the beast spear's power and that it was lost 500 years ago, but when he learns that Ushio is the spear's wielder now, he immediately falls down on his knees and begs him for forgiveness. After Ushio forgives him, he confides in him that a beast which resembles Tora killed his family, due to which he is a changed man now. He tells Ushio that the beast resembles Tora and asks him whether he knows the monster. Ushio realizes that Tora couldn't have killed Hayu's family because he was just recently released, but he thinks about how Tora has wanted to kill him all this time. He lies to Hayu that he knows the monster he is talking about and asks him to kill the monster on his behalf. After he is gone, Hayu approaches Tora and they both begin fighting one another. In the meanwhile, Ushio spends his day thinking about what he told Hayu. The fight carries on to the next day, in which Hayu and Tora both struggle to beat the other one Uo. Ushio heads to school, but he remains distracted throughout the day, and even Inoue and Nakamura notice that he isn't acting like a little kid. After school, Nakamura follows Ushio home, and he confronts her about her stalker behavior. She smacks his head from behind and asks him to beat her up in order to stop moping around and to get over whatever is wrong with him. She motivates him to face whatever is bothering him and then runs away. Ushio feels re-energized and rushes to meet Hayu, who has almost beaten down Tora. Both of them face one another in tattered state, and Ushio jumps in front of Tora to save him from further attacks. He confesses to Hayu that Tora was only released from his seal a while back and couldn't have attacked his family. Hayu cannot believe that he came all the way to Japan without any reason, and Ushio apologizes to him for lying to him earlier. He even asks him to beat him up, and Hayu pushes him to the ground in anger. He launches a series of punches on him and then gets up to kill Tora to satisfy his anger. He unleashes an exorcism spell on Tora, but Ushio jumps in front of the attack and receives the full blow. He yells at Hayu for attempting to murder Tora without any just cause and punches him in the face, as he reminds him that his daughter won't be happy to see him murdering others. Ushio then passes out after the attack, and Hayu also gets in his thick skull that he is in the wrong. Later, Ushio wakes up and Hayu admits to him that he was in the wrong. He decides to stay in Japan for the time being to hunt other yokai and then leaves Ushio on his own. Later, Ushio is sleeping in his injured state at his home when Tora sneaks up on him to attack him. However, he notices the injuries that he got while protecting him, which makes him withdraw, and he leaves through the window without attacking him. One day, Ushio and the girls head to the beach to enjoy a mini vacation thanks to Nakamura's grandma, who has a beach store. Tora also jumps into the water and decides to forget about Ushio for the day to enjoy the water. Ushio comes across a kid named Tatsuya who throws sand on his bag and even throws water at Nakamura before running away. Afterwards, Nakamura's grandma tells the kids that Tatsuya actually lost his parents 2 years ago and that he doesn't get along with other kids and keeps playing pranks on them. In the meanwhile, Taro flies deep into the sea and runs into a sea spirit called Umazato, who begs him for his help. He explains that he lives in the sea and controls the sea monsters from spiraling out of control. However, an Ayakashi monster has emerged recently born out of the countless people who have died in the sea. Since the Ayakashi is devouring the yokai and the humans left and right, Umazato asks Tora to help kill him, and Tora accepts his request after listening about how strong he is. Tatsuya continues to play pranks on different people on the beach, due to which Ushio corners him and slaps him as well. Tatsuya runs away in tears while Nakamura recalls how Ushio used to get offended whenever she would ask him about his mom and would throw tantrums in the same way, which makes the two boys similar to one another. Umazato takes Tora to a site where the Ayakashi resides, and a gigantic-looking sea serpent look-alike monster emerges out of the water. On the other side, Tatsuya runs into some thugs and they break his toy to push him around. Nakamura stops them before they can do more damage and beats the boys up, which makes them run away. Tatsuya confides in her in tears that the toy was given to her by his mom, and she then repairs it for him. At the same time, Tora fights with the sea Ayakashi, but his lightning attacks all get repelled by the monster. The Ayakashi then takes him between his teeth, and Tora then tells Umazato to fetch Ushio to help him out before he gets swallowed by the monster. Tatsuya and Nakamura head out in their boat to have a little adventure, but they get swallowed by a huge sea creature. A few feet away from them, Umazato's spirit approaches Ushio and asks him to help Tora out. Inoue and Ushio get a call from Nakamura, who informs them that a sea serpent has swallowed them and asks them for help. After the call ends, Nakamura puts her shirt on Tatsuya and consoles her like a big sister so that he can stop his whining. Suddenly, a few yokai appear and surround their boat to attack them. Tora hears their screams at a distance and attacks the yokai to save them. Ushio and Umazato approach the Ayakashi's barrier, and Ushio then attacks the sea Ayakashi. His blade fails to pierce the Ayakashi's oiled body, so he jumps on his body and pierces the barrier. The Ayakashi throws him into the air and swallows him whole, just like he did with Tora. Nakamura tells Tatsuya that Ushio used to get bullied a lot after losing his mom, but one day, her dad took him for a walk and Ushio then came back with a bruised eye. After that day, Ushio stopped getting in so many fights and grew up a lot. Suddenly, the Ayakashi starts to suck in the water along with their boat, and Tora grabs Tatsuya and Nakamura to save them. He sticks his arms on the Ayakashi's stomach walls to prevent them from getting consumed inside, but just when he is losing his hold on the walls, Ushio arrives at the scene. Suddenly, they all get sucked inside the Ayakashi's core, but Ushio stabs the beast spear on the wall and holds onto the others to stop them from being sucked inside. Nakamura passes out during this hurdle, and Tatsuya climbs on Tora's body to grab her before she can get sucked inside. The spear loses its hold on the stomach wall and they all fall inside the Ayakashi, but suddenly the spear moves on its own and stabs the Ayakashi's core. The Ayakashi stops sucking everyone inside, and Tora then carries everyone outside while Ushio slices the Ayakashi's wall from the inside, which ultimately kills the Ayakashi. After they leave its body, the Ayakashi's body disappears and turns into hundreds of human souls who were killed at the sea. Ushio thanks Tora for helping his friends out and then smacks his head when Tora teases him back. Afterwards, Tatsuya bids everyone goodbye on the train station as they leave, and he even gives his prized toy to Ushio to thank him for everything. Before returning from the beach, Umezato learns that Ushio's full name is Ushio Atsuki and calls him the son of that wretched woman who still lives. After returning home, Ushio confronts his dad Shigeru and asks him whether his mom is still alive. Shigeru dodges all of his questions and after receiving a call from a customer, heads away without giving him any answer. Ushio then visits his mom's grave where he thinks about how he has spent all his life thinking his mom is dead. In the meanwhile, Shigeru seals some goblin yokai for some of his customers. After completing his mission, he rides in a helicopter and visits his elders to inform them that the beast spear has been withdrawn. He tells them everything and they refuse to believe that his son Ushio can yield the beast spear and that Tora hasn't devoured Ushio yet. Shigeru requests them to let him test Ushio in order to find out whether he is competent to yield the beast spear and to find out whether Tora is truly evil or not. Although the elders do not agree to his request in the beginning, one of the elders named Oyakun accepts Shigeru's proposal and warns him that the arrival of Tora may be foretelling the arrival of another monster called Hakumen no Mano. Shigeru then heads back to carry out his task while the elders decide to do something on their own by going behind Oyakun. Later Shigeru arrives back home and promises to tell Ushio after dinner. After they are done eating, Shigeru remains hesitant whether he should tell Ushio the truth and then throws 1.2 million yen at him. Ushio cannot believe that his dad is trying to buy his silence and punches him in the face to show him how serious he is. Shigeru explains to him that he gave him the money for his trip expenses and asks him to visit his uncle in Hokkaido to find out the truth about his mom. He then changes into different clothes and calls forth Tora. When Tora appears, Shigeru declares that he has been ordered to exterminate him and then takes him to his backyard to fight with him. Tora and Shigeru attack one another and Shigeru uses his beads and staff to attack him while Tora dodges his attacks and launches his own attacks at him. Ushio jumps in between to stop them but gets thrown back instantly, so he wields the beast's spear and smacks Tora's head to make him stop. He then attacks Shigeru next and pushes him back as well. Tora informs Ushio that his dad wasn't being serious in the fight, and Shigeru informs him that he is actually a Buddhist mystic who fights yokai and seals them behind the scenes. Suddenly a few priests appear and Shigeru declares that Tora isn't evil and should remain in Ushio's company for the time being. However, the priests declare that Tora needs to die and a moment later attack him. Shigeru holds them off and asks Ushio to run away to find his mom, but Ushio remains rooted on the scene and fights the priests with Shigeru. One of the priests binds Tora's arms, but Tora breaks free from the spell and sends the priest flying. Another priest binds Shigeru as well and Ushio jumps on him to save Shigeru. Somewhere in the fight, Tora passes out while Tora and Shigeru work together to beat up all the priests. Later that night, Ushio wakes up to find that all the priests have been defeated and Shigeru assures him that he doesn't have to worry since he will deal with all the repercussions. The next morning, Ushio and Tora head to Hokkaido to find out the truth about Ushio's mom. One night somewhere under the dark starry sky, a plane crashes into a disgusting-looking monster and one of the pilots apologizes to his daughter named Yu for not being able to make home this time. The next day, Ushio heads to the airport to board a flight to Hokkaido and he hears someone telling a girl called Yu about her father's dead. The man explains to Yu that the flight crashed due to a monster, but she tells him to stop making fun of her and storms away. Tora explains to Ushio that the monster may be a Fusuma who lives in the sky but occasionally comes down to eat humans and that he has fought a Fusuma before, but nothing works on him since his only weaknesses are black teeth and lots of fire. Ushio and Yu board the same flight and she becomes scared when the plane takes off, due to which Ushio grabs her hand and consoles her like a Sigma chap. She then confides in him a month ago. Her dad's plane almost crashed into a fighter jet plane which was borne by a guy named Itsuzawa and that the plane crashed soon thereafter. She doesn't believe that a monster attacked her dad's plane and believes that Itsuzawa killed her dad despite. Moments later, Yu falls asleep and Itsuzawa approaches her to put a blanket over her. Suddenly, the Fusuma appears and tightly binds himself around the plane. Panic erupts in the plane as the plane dives down and Ushio summons his beast spear to deal with the Fusuma. Itsuzawa barges inside the cockpit and notices that the pilot has already been killed, so he jumps on his seat to take control. Ushio pokes Tora's butt and forces him to move out of the plane so that he can lure the Fusuma away. Tora comes face to face with the Fusuma and blows fire on him, which immediately makes the Fusuma jump back. Itsuzawa then takes control of the plane and stops it from diving below. As the plane climbs altitude, Ushio informs you that Itsuzawa was telling the truth about her father's death. In the meanwhile, Tora attacks the Fusima again and again, but none of his punches or lightning attacks work on him. Yu barges inside the cockpit and notices that Atsuzawa is injured. He calls the self-defense forces for help, but they do not notice anything on radar and refuse to come for help. Atsuzawa then orders Yu to head back inside the rear, and Ushio then arrives to tell him that they can defeat the Fusima with fire. Tora also peeks in through the windscreen and prompts Ushio to use his beast spear through the plane's surface. Tora then attacks the Fusima again and dips his tail through the surface inside the plan to indicate to Ushio about his location. Ushio follows his tail, and with Yu's help, he pierces the plan's surface with his blade when Tora gives him a signal. Since the beast spear is forged to only attack the yokai, the blade passes through the surface and stabs the Fusima. Suddenly, the Fusima also appears on the radar, and the self-defense forces dispatch a few planes to fight him. Atsuzawa asks them to attack the Fusima with a missile, but since the monster is still attached to the plane, they refuse to fire anything. Ushio then jumps above the plane while Tora holds him tightly to prevent him from flying away. He stabs at the Fusima, but in return, the Fusima binds him tight and stuffs his hand in Tora's mouth to stop him from blowing out any fire. Ushio slices away his arms with his blade, and Tora then blows fire on his body, which cuts him away from the plane's body. The fighter jet then throws a missile at him, which obliterates him on the spot. Before dying, the Fusima notices the beast spear in Ushio's hand and feels glad that he won't be meeting Hakumen no Mano, who must be appearing soon. The plane approaches the airport, however, its deploying mechanism fails to work. Tora then jumps out of the plane and uses his brute strength to help the plane land. Afterwards, Ushio bids Yu and Atsuzawa goodbye and jumps off the plane with Tora to resume his adventure. In a wild mountain, a wild monster named Juro runs away from his pack while blaming the humans for taking his home away from him. His friends chase after him, and he then runs into a vehicle which causes an explosion. He soon disappears from the sight, and his friends discuss how only the beast spear can stop him. In Hokkaido, Ushio somehow loses all the money that Shigeru had given to him. He then notices a weird-looking small whirlwind in the middle of a busy street. The whirlwind attacks a few passers-by and hits him as well, due to which he wields the beast spear to take care of it. Suddenly, a woman appears and begs Ushio to forgive the whirlwind on her knees. Later, Ushio is taken far away to the mountains, where a man and a woman introduce themselves as ancient yokai called Kamaitashi. They ask Ushio to kill their Juro with his beast spear, who has been killing humans and has become very violent. The female yokai named Kaguri takes Tora outside and reveals to him that her kind was driven out of the southern mountains by humans. The male yokai named Raishin informs Ushio that their kind don't harm humans without any cause, and that Juro has broken their law by killing humans, due to which he needs to be taken down. Outside the house, Tora and Kaguri get into a fight when suddenly Juro appears at the house and barges inside. He declares to Raishin that he has come to say his final goodbye and vows to kill all the humans. Ushio learns that the Kamaitashi are going to be driven out of their homes because the humans are building an expressway in the mountains, due to which Juro has gone berserk. He attacks Juro, but Juro easily blocks his attacks and sends him crashing to the ground. Tora then stops him from killing Ushio, and Jora runs away from the scene. Tora notices that Ushio is passed out, and Kaguri reveals that only her medicine can heal his injuries. She asks Tora to help her out and only heals Ushio's injuries after he agrees to listen to her. Afterwards, Ushio wakes up and rushes towards the construction site where Juro plans to kill the humans who are going to destroy his home. He learns on the way that the Kamaitashi hate humans for always driving them out of their homes. Kaguri reveals that Juro used to be a gentle yokai who loved living in the mountains, but they were driven out of their homes by the humans time after time, due to which Juro let the hatred get the best of him. They all arrive at the construction site where Juro attacks Ushio, and his siblings jump in to stop him. Juro then attempts to run away. However, his careless movements cause a part of the hill to break down and fall on his siblings and Ushio. Ushio holds off the rubble by himself while Tora hurries to get the Kamaitashi siblings out from under a vehicle on Ushio's instructions. Ushio asks Juro to kill him to take his revenge against the humans, and Juro jumps at him in anger, but Tora pushes him back with his tail. Ushio then begins crying as he thinks about how the Kamaitashi must have lost their homes so many times, and apologizes to Juro on behalf of all of the humans. He admits that he cannot do anything for him even though he is a human, and suddenly the workers appear on the site. They notice the weird-looking Kamaitashi, and one of them throws a stone at Juro, which angers him even more. Juro jumps on them, and one of the workers accidentally throws a cigarette on the ground, which lights up the leaking gasoline and sets it on fire. Tora attempts to pick up the vehicle above the Kamaitachi siblings before the vehicle can explode, and Juro begins to help him out. The workers run away from the site, however, when they hear Ushio call them for help. A few of them come back and help Juro lift up the vehicle. The Kamaitachi siblings become free moments before the fire touches the vehicles and causes it to explode. Afterwards, Ushio promises to find Juro a suitable place to live, but Juro jumps on him out of nowhere and gets stabbed by the beast spear. He tells Ushio that he already let his grudge go the moment he started crying on their behalf, and then dies on the spot. Back at Ushio's hometown, the priests report to the elders of Kohamii's sect that they have failed to kill Tora. Another elder called Nijira arrives and informs everyone that Elder Oyakun is really angry after learning that they all went behind her back. Some time ago, Nijira actually met with Oyakun, and she told him that the beast spear chooses its wielder, due to which they should accept Ushio for now. In the present, Nijira summons all the elders and priests and announces that they will now keep a watch on Ushio and Tora for the time being and not lay any harm on them. At Hokkaido, Ushio and Tora soak in a special hot springs bath on the Kamaitachi's recommendation. They hear the singing voice of a girl and follow the voice to come across a white-haired girl who is also in the hot springs. The girl named Saya notices their presence and runs away on seeing them. She returns to her home, and her father named Take reminds her that she needs to prove her usefulness to the house. Her father Take and grandmother lead Saya inside a room and leave her there to tend to their god. Saya then approaches a figure called the Omamori and asks him what game he wants to play. Omamori in return asks her to let him out of the house, but Saya apologizes to him that they cannot ever leave the house. Omamori then notices Tora's scent on her, and Saya comments that maybe they will both get to leave the house after all. The next day, Ushio comes across Saya on the road and saves her from running into a fast vehicle. A passerby informs him that she belongs to the Takatori house, which is owned by a huge landlord, and he then carries her towards her house. She wakes up during the way and apologizes to him for startling him at the hot springs. She can even see Tora due to her special bloodline, and Ushio then carries her to her home. At the Takatori house, Take approves some development plans and feels glad that his plans can prosper so much because he has the god Omamori at his house. Moments later, he confronts Saya for going out on her own and reminds her that an invalid like her can never leave the house. Ushio hears all the insults hurled at Saya and argues with Take about his bad manners. Saya then begs Take to let her talk to Ushio on her own, and he leaves her alone on her relentless requests. Saya then takes Ushio outside and tells him about the old folktales according to which some households can gain a lot of power and wealth if they capture a powerful god. She takes him to another room where she introduces the god Omamori to him. Omamori recognizes Tora at a single glance and then asks Ushio to break down the barrier which has sealed her inside the house. At the same time, Take recalls how Omamori once told him many years ago that someone with a spear will break down the barrier and ruin his household. Tora reminds Omamori that the massive amount of Kai surrounding the room will kill her if Ushio breaks the barrier, and Saya confronts Omamori for not telling her the truth. Omamori still requests her to let her die, and Take barges inside the room to kick Ushio out. Ushio clashes his blade with him while Tora bangs his head against the barrier to break it. After pushing Take away, Ushio turns around to break the barrier, but Saya steps in front of him to stop him because she doesn't want Omamori to get killed. Take's men restrain Ushio while Tora manages to hurl his head inside the barrier. He asks Ushio to take the barrier down and that he will protect Omamori somehow. Saya decides to let her family fall into ruin and allows Ushio to break the barrier. Ushio then slices the barrier and an explosion occurs which brings the whole house down. As the house collapses, Omamori flees into the air and Saya informs Ushio that she wants to become strong just like him. Tora informs Ushio that Omamori told him that she will always be watching over Saya, and Ushio then bids Saya goodbye. Back at Ushio's hometown, Nakamura has a dream in which Ushio carries her away from a fight when they were just kids. At the same time, Inoue's dad shows her an antique mirror which he bought for a huge price, but she gets a bad vibe from the mirror. Her parents then head off for a trip and leave her in Nakamura's case. Both girls head to school together, and Inoue points out that Nakamura seems worried since Ushio has stopped coming to school. Nakamura denies all such accusations. However, she remains spaced out throughout the day, and even her classmates notice her different aura. The atmosphere in the class becomes gloomy without her uppity attitude, and after home time, Inoue asks her to accompany her to Ushio's home. They both head to Ushio's home where they meet with Shigeru and ask him about Ushio. He informs them that Ushio has gone to a distant relative, and they both leave after receiving the information. Nakamura begins whining on the way back that Ushio should have informed her about his departure in advance since she was really worried for him, and Inoue teases her endlessly about Ushio. In the meanwhile, Ushio stays with the Kamaitachi but decides to leave the next day for his relative's home. He then sees a vision in the water in which Nakamura is in some kind of trouble, so he runs inside and tells the Kamaitachi about his vision. The Kamaitachi show him up a mountain and then lead him to a cave where another yokai called the Ungekyu resides, who has a lot of knowledge on mirrors. The Ungekyu comes out of the cave but notices the beast spear on Ushio's hands, which scares him to death, and he runs away inside the cave to get away from the spear. Tora stops him in his way and makes him listen to their plea. Ushio then asks him for his help and tells him about the vision he saw earlier. So the Ungekyu decides to help him out, seeing that he is the Kamaitachi's benefactor. He shows them a vision from a while ago in which Nakamura and Inoue arrive at Inoue's home after paying a visit to Ushio's dad. After they arrive home, Inoue notices that her dad's antique is turned around, but she ignores the strange phenomena. Both girls settle down after a long day and discuss an event from when they were kids. Many years ago, Nakamura and Inoue had made a DIY project, but a dog had snatched the object and had run away with their project. When they informed Ushio about it, he looked around for the dog and didn't even come back home, due to which all the adults started looking for him. Nakamura then found him at the riverbank, confronting the dog on his own, and he saved her when the dog attacked her once again. He fought with the dog and got pretty beat up in the whole process. As the girls recall the event, an ugly-looking monster emerges from Inoue's antique mirror and pulls her roughly inside. The Ungekyu informs Ushio that the mirror monster is called Kyoma, and that he was born out of black magic long ago after a man was betrayed by a woman. The Ungekyu lays out a plan that he can teleport Ushio to Inoue's room, after which he has to go inside the antique mirror and take the monster down quickly. He warns Ushio that his powers will hold up before the water turns cold, and Ushio then jumps inside the Ungekyu's mirror along with Tora. They both traverse in the mirror and jump out through another mirror only to arrive at Inoue's room. Nakamura recognizes Tora but fails to recognize Ushio, who has a changed look due to the beast spear. They both jump inside the antique mirror, but Nakamura also jumps after them. The three of them confront Kyoma, who is holding Inoue hostage, and Kyoma transforms into a huge ugly-looking monster on seeing them. It restrains Tora and Ushio with the help of its underlings, but Tora breaks free using his brute strength. He dives on Kyoma and destroys its underlings, while Ushio obliterates Kyoma in one single strike. The mirror breaks and all of them get hurled outside into the real world. Ushio puts the girls down in semi-conscious state, and Nakamura watches as Ushio bids her goodbye and gets teleported somewhere else. Afterwards, when both the girls fully wake up, they assume that they just had a naughty dream and do not talk to each other about it. The next morning, Ushio shows the Kamaitachi a comb which belonged to his mother once upon a time, and then bids them goodbye. The Kamaitachi also apologized to Tora for underestimating him earlier, after which Tora and Ushio leave them and head to the bus station. They catch a bus there, and Tora excitedly rides the bus like a little overstimulated kid. However, he becomes bored after a few minutes and starts to yap endlessly to Ushio. A moment later, a yokai bat barges inside the bus and steers off the path while Ushio attacks the yokai. The bus slips off its path and tumbles down the mountain, while a dozen more yokai come out of the mountain and attack Ushio. He and Tora work together to slice through the yokai, but more and more ugly-looking yokai appear and attack them. Ushio lures them into the forest to avoid any more collisions with the humans, and another yokai stops him by appearing from the ground and grabbing his foot. He calls Ushio the son of the wretched woman, and once again, dozen more yokai appear around Ushio. They all attack him together and attach themselves to him, but he uses the beast spear to slice through them. A huge yokai called Hitetsuki appears and blocks Tora's path. He welcomes him back after not seeing him for 500 years and calls him out for allying himself with a human boy who is wielding the beast spear. Tora then asks why all the yokai are attacking Ushio, and Hitetsuki then spills the latest tea to him. On the other end, the beast spear lures away Ushio to a stream, and Ushio notices that the spear isn't calming down due to the presence of so many yokai around him. A coward wuss yokai named Kappa appears in front of him and begs him not to kill him. He then tends to Ushio's wounds and confesses to him that all the yokai are hunting him down due to his mother, who is hated by all the yokai all over Japan. According to a legend, a beautiful woman came all the way from China to Japan on a ship. However, in reality, she was a yokai who had assumed the shape of a yokai. Long before then, the world was split into humans and the yokai. However, among the yokai, there was an evil yokai named Hakuma no Mano who went from nation to nation and devoured humans as well as the yokai. When it came to Japan, the yokai worked together to fight against him. The yokai then ran away when the humans realized its true identity, but all the yokai chased Hakuma no Mano before it could return to devour them. Kappa is then about to tell Ushio about his mom, when Ushio suddenly feels the presence of a few yokai and flees from the scene to avoid fighting them. In the meanwhile, Ushio's bus gets discovered by the police, and they rescue all the passengers while the driver is discovered to be dead due to the collision. Saya's car also stops at the hill due to all the traffic, and Omamori, who is accompanying her, informs her about the presence of all the yokai in the area. A number of other yokai approach the Kamaitachi and prompt them to join their force to hunt down Ushio, but the Kamaitachi fight against them to protect Ushio. Hidetsuki reminds Tora that they both came to Japan with Hakumen no Mano and joined the yokai in their fight against Hakumen, but soon thereafter, Hakumen fled from the scene. Eventually, all the yokai found Hakumen, but a strong barrier was cast around him due to which they could not get near to him. The barrier was cast by a lone woman, who was called the Woman of Duty, and Ushio belongs to her bloodline, due to which all the yokai are hunting him down. Hidetsuki accuses Tora of befriending Ushio, and Tora welcomes him to fight Ushio himself if he wants. In the meanwhile, Tora slices through the yokai as he heads to a nearby village, and even saves an old man on the way. Ushio successfully arrives at the nearby village with the rescued old man, and eats a lot of food at the old man's bakery. He tells the old man everything that happened to him after he pulled the beast spear out of Tora's body. The old man notices that Ushio doesn't mind being friendly with the yokai, and that it pains him to kill the yokai sometimes. Ushio then offers some food to the old man as well, and then bids him goodbye for the night. Outside in the street, Ushio senses that the yokai are closing in on him, so he tells the old man to head inside and attacks the yokai. The yokai attack the bystanders as well, so Ushio calls all of them out and lures them to a bus station outside the village to save the villagers. They all jump on him, and he does his best to take them down one by one. The Kamaitachi siblings join him in his fight, and together they attack the yokai to defeat them. Suddenly, Hidetsuki appears among the yokai and accuses the Kamaitachi siblings of betraying their own kind. At the same time, Tora remains far away from the fight and thinks about how Hidetsuki told him to stay away from Ushio. Ushio and the Kamaitachi siblings struggle to hold off the dozen yokai, and one of the yokai beats down Raishin. Hidetsuki offers the Kamaitachi to kill Ushio in exchange for their lives, and Ushio also asks them to betray him to rejoin their kind, but the Kamaitachi siblings ask him not to belittle them. Both siblings declare that they can lay down their lives for him and jump into the sea of yokai to protect him, but all of a sudden, a bolt of lightning hits the yokai and barbecues them on the spot. Tora jumps in the middle of the yokai and tells Hidetsuki that Ushio is his prey before flying away with Ushio and the Kamaitachi siblings. He takes them to a deserted area, where the yokai cannot find them for a while, and the Kamaitachi siblings prepare medicine to tend to Ushio's wounds. Suddenly, a weird mist surrounds Ushio and teleports him in front of a huge house. A strange voice leads him inside a house and asks him whether he loves his mother. Ushio boldly declares that he only wants to find out why his other left him and why Dad kept this secret all this time. He then arrives at a room where he finds Omamori sitting with the head of all the mountain yokai. The head yokai called Osa informs Ushio that all the yokai hate him due to his mother, who is protecting the yokai's natural enemy Hakumen no Mano through a barrier. The barrier was originally created by her ancestor, but she is third in line to protect the barrier, and her name is Hizaki Samako. Ushio wonders why his mom is even protecting Hakumen, and Osa requests him to ask his mom the same question. He reveals that Omamori has assured him that Ushio is a man of his words and will help out the yokai, due to which he has made the decision to stop the yokai's attacks till he returns from his meeting with his mom. Hidetsuki arrives at the same place, and Osa decides to relay his decision to him as well. Ushio then runs out and finds Tora facing Hidetsuki for a fight. Tora declares that he isn't protecting Ushio and that he only wants to fight against Hidetsuki to test his strength, while Hidetsuki insists that they need to kill Ushio to take the yokai's revenge against his mother. Osa allows both of them to fight one another, and they both jump at one another. Hidetsuki uses his huge horn to beat Tora down and even pierces him in the chest. He constantly smacks him left and right, but Tora gets up and blows fire on his face. He then electrocutes him with his lightning and beats him down with his punches till he cannot stand. Osa declares Tora to be the winner and announces to all the yokai that they cannot attack Ushio any longer. The Kamaitachi heal Tora's wound and Ushio then heads back on his journey after getting blessing from Osa. At a mysterious place, Hakumen chants about the beast spear and vows to destroy the beast spear and its wielder. In the meanwhile, Tora and Ushio finally arrive at his relative's city. As they are walking around the city late at night, a yokai attacks them out of nowhere and a human girl appears on the other side as well. She uses a charm to get rid of the yokai and informs Ushio that the yokai was sent by Hakumen no Mano to get rid of him. She then notices his shabby state and feels disappointed that a brat like him is wielding the beast spear. She even slaps him on the cheek and calls him childish. She then reveals that the Kohami-Ai sect has been training a lot of candidates since generations to wield the beast spear and that she is one of those candidates named Hinawa. The Kohami-Ai sect discovers that all 4 candidates for the beast spear have disappeared and discuss that the candidates must have felt unsatisfied by Ushio's selection, due to which they must have gone out to test the beast spear by themselves. Hinawa informs Ushio that he could have avoided a lot of tragedies in his life, such as Juro's death or the planes crashing, if he was trained in wielding the beast spear. She then asks him to give the spear to her and forcibly takes it from him. She then challenges him to a fight, but he declares that he won't hit a girl and she hits him in the stomach with the spear before storming away to fight another yokai. Tora starts to celebrate that he can finally eat Ushio, but notices that Ushio looks really upset. At the same time, a number of yokai charge at Hinawa and merge together to become a huge, disgusting-looking yokai. She calls forth the beast spear's powers, but the spear doesn't reply to her and the yokai then attack her. They tear her apart and injure her, but the beast spear refuses to reply to her commands. Suddenly Ushio appears and grabs the beast spear, which activates its powers. He charges at the yokai and attacks him with the beast spear. The yokai changes its tactics and takes Hinawa hostage by binding itself against her body. Ushio throws the spear at Hinawa and the spear slices away the yokai to save her. In the meanwhile, the yokai grabs Ushio while he is defenseless without the spear and threatens to kill him, but as always, Tora attacks the yokai and tears him apart to make him release Ushio. After getting released, Ushio summons the beast spear and teams up with Tora to attack the yokai. They both obliterate it together, and Ushio then asks Hinawa to let him keep the spear for a while longer. She accepts him as the wielder and warns him that the other candidates must be looking for him as well. Ushio then departs towards his destination and comes across a biker named Nagar. He offers him a ride on his bike, but Ushio compliments his bike and resumes his walk towards the bus stop, which will take him to Asahikawa, where his relative lives. As he heads away from Nagar, Tora notices that Nagar is staring daggers at him, so he flies back towards Nagar to find out what his deal is. At the same time, a bunch of small yokai take possession of a bus, and a moment later, Ushio gets on the same bus. Tora steps in front of Nagar and makes him confirm that Nagar is actually one of the candidates who are going to wield the beast spear. Nagar declares to Tora that he is more interested in him rather than the beast spear, and Tora then jumps on him to attack him. Nagar uses his staff to deflect his attacks, and when Tora uses his lightning on him, Nagar bends his lightning with his staff. He reveals that he has mastered metallic chi, which allows him to bend his lightning, so Tora blows fire on him next. He dodges the fire as well and pierces a stab on one of Tora's hands. On the other end, Ushio's bus begins to drive away, but he tells himself that Tora will soon follow him. Tora fails to get the stake out of his hand, and Nagar then pierces his legs with the same stakes as well, which start to drain away Tora's powers. Nagar asks him the billion-dollar questions, that why he doesn't kill Ushio even though he was a very feared yokai before getting sealed, and Tora then tears off his limbs to separate himself from the stakes. He rushes at Nagar and breaks his staff just by colliding into him, which defeats Nagar. He then declares that he never gets bored with Ushio, due to which he has spared him all this time, and then flies off to join Ushio on his bus. Meanwhile, Ushio is on his bus when suddenly he feels the presence of the yokai. He then discovers that the Hayo yokai have killed the driver of the bus and have taken possession of the bus. Tora and Nagar also follow the bus trail, and Tora asks Ushio to jump out of the bus to get away from the yokai, but Ushio insists that he wants to stay inside to save the other passengers. Nagar gets an idea and shares it with Tora to save the passengers. A moment later, Tora instructs Ushio to gather all the passengers on the center of an aisle, and as the passengers gather at the center, the mini yokai come out to attack everyone. Nagar uses his staff to cut away the bus's back as well as its center, while Tora uses his powers to blow out the passengers. The next step involves Nagar conjuring a barrier. However, before he can do anything, the yokai attach themselves to him to stop him. Despite their attacks, Nagar throws his staff on the road and erects a barrier while the passengers fall on the road above his barrier and do not get injured as a result. Nagar then asks Ushio to stop the bus so that it doesn't ram into the passengers, but notices that a few yokai have restrained Ushio and are preventing him from moving. Nagar decides to ram his bike into the bus to stop it, but Tora tells him to trust Ushio, who has been chosen by the Beast Spear. Ushio summons the power of Beast Spear and slices away top half of the bus by using the spear. He then stabs the bus's floor with the spear and stops the bus in its tracks before it can collide with the passengers. Afterwards, he feels bad about endangering the lives of so many people and runs away towards the tunnel to get away from them. Nagar finds him moping around and offers him a ride towards Asahikawa. Tora also informs him that Nagar is actually one of the Beast Spear candidates, and Ushio then jumps on his bike to head to his destination. On the way, a few other bikes follow Nagar and he stops his bike to find out why he is being followed. He informs Ushio that the bikers who are stalking them are actually all washout potential candidates for the Beast Spear. One of them, called June, asks Nagar whether he has seen her brother, who is also a Beast Spear candidate. She reveals that her brother Satoru disappeared after hearing about Ushio's claim towards the Beast Spear and hasn't returned since. Suddenly, they all feel a strong presence nearby, and Tora warns Ushio in advance that someone with the control of yin and yang is approaching them. Satoru arrives at the scene with a leech Shikigami, and the leech attacks Ushio right off the bat. It starts to suck on his face, which drains away his powers, while Satoru declares that he will destroy the Beast Spear wielder. Nagar rushes at him to stop him, but he easily deflects his attacks and sends him flying back. The other candidates also rush at Satoru, but the leech attacks them as well to stop them. Tora slices the leech's arms away, which frees up Ushio, and Ushio then uses the Beast Spear to kill the leech. He turns towards Satoru to fight him, but suddenly Satoru feels pain in his head and declares that he will fight him another time before fleeing from the scene. After he is gone, Tora reveals to others that Satoru's head was actually crawling with Hayo yokai. On the other end, Satoru runs away to a stream where the Hayo yokai attempt to take control of his body, but he struggles against their attack. Nagar and Ushio resume their bike ride, but this time, June and her fellow bikers follow them to fight with Satoru whenever the chance arises. Ushio gets an idea about Satoru's problems, and he stops the bike midway. He uses a station mirror to call forth the mirror yokai Ungekyu and requests him to let him connect with the elder yokai Osa. The Ungekyu feels threatened by the Beast Spear and reluctantly lets him connect with Osa by using his powers. Ushio then tells Osa about Satoru's problems and requests him for help. Osa informs him that he needs to shapeshift by using the Beast Spear's powers in order to enter Satoru's body and kill the Hayo yokai from the inside. He warns him that the spear may devour his soul while he is shapeshifting and asks him to think hard before jumping to any decision. Afterwards, the whole group takes a break and June shares with everyone that Satoru once saved her from a yokai's attack when they were kids. However, she only became scared of his powers and ran away in tears without even thanking him. Suddenly, Satoru teleports himself to the scene with a few bug yokai and attacks everyone. He uses chains to bind Ushio and takes away the Beast Spear from him as well. June runs at him to stop him and reminds him of their old memories, but he only threatens to kill her. Ushio frees himself from his chains and throws his spear at Satoru right when he is about to kill June. She then hugs Satoru close, and he temporarily comes back to his senses after recalling all the time they spent together. He tells everyone to take care of his sister and jumps down the mountain to end himself before the Hayo yokai can take over his body once again. Ushio throws the Beast Spear at Satoru and manages to catch him before he can fall to his death. Everyone pulls Satoru up and June starts to cry over him, due to which Ushio makes up his mind to shapeshift himself into Satoru's body. Nagar warns him not to make a rash decision and even pretends to attack him to stop him, but Ushio refuses to change his mind. The Ungekyu appears on the bike mirror and offers Ushio his help by giving him a special yokai which can act as guide inside Satoru's body. The yokai named Izuna appears as his guide and instantly feels intimidated by Tora's presence. Tora also warns him that he may not turn back into a human, but Ushio doesn't change his mind, and eventually Tora also decides to follow him into Satoru's body. Izuna then leads the both of them inside Satoru's body, and before jumping, Ushio advises June to hold Satoru tight. Moments later, Ushio wakes up inside Satoru's body, and Izuna gives him instructions on where to go. Dozens of small Hyo yokai rush towards Ushio, but he uses the beast spear to kill all of them. They all head towards the heart next, but all of a sudden, a few blood capillaries rush out and capture them in mid-air. Satoru's body convulses in the outside world, and everyone pushes him down. June begins to whine about his condition, so Nagar tells her to have some faith in Ushio and gives her a blunt reminder that Ushio is just a middle school kid who should be enjoying his carefree life. But he is putting his life on line only for the sake of other people and yokai without any reason. Tora uses lightning on the blood vessels, which destroys a bunch of them and worsens Satoru's physical condition. The beast spear then acts up and lodges itself on the yokai who was manipulating the blood vessels in the first place. After killing the yokai, Ushio's arm begins to hurt and he begins screaming out. Tora thinks that he is transforming into a beast, but suddenly Ushio quirks up and runs in the direction of the brain before his time can run out. All of them run up Satoru's spine, which can lead them to the brain where the mass of the yokai are present, and Ushio decides to use all of his strength regardless of whether his body will transform into a monster or not. Outside the body, Satoru gets up in a zombie-like state and attacks the people around him, but June jumps on him and attempts to hold him down as per Ushio's instructions. Satoru attacks her, but she bears the attacks and declares that she won't leave Satoru this time. Her courage sends powers inside the body where Ushio is busy fighting the mass of yokai. His arms begin to transform into a monster, however, he remains stubborn that he wants to test his strength. As they all rush towards the brain, the general of Hyo yokai named Chibakama comes out and begins to fight with Ushio. He pushes Ushio away and shows him a projection of Hakumen no Mano, which brings Ushio down on his knees, due to his sheer strength. Chibakama distracts him while he is down, but Izana jumps in front of Ushio and receives the hit instead. Izana tells Ushio to focus on his mission, and when Chibakama attacks him next time, Tora electrocutes him in return. On Izuna's advice, Tora calls out to June and advises her to stare into Satoru's eyes in order to motivate him to fight against the yokai inside his body. Tora and Ushio then lure Chibakama into Satoru's eyes inside his body, while outside the body, June strips out of her clothes and jumps into the stream to meditate and collect her chi. Chibakama realizes that he may be getting trapped and tries to flee from the eyes, but Izuna pushes him inside and holds him tight. Tora then pulls Ushio outside to avoid being hit by June's attacks, but Ushio notices that Izuna is attempting to sacrifice his life and jumps inside the eye to save him. He uses the beast spear's powers to immobilize Chibakama while June stares into Satoru's eyes from the outside at the time of sunrise. Both of their moves collectively obliterate Chibakama's life and put his dramatics to an end. Satoru wakes up after a while and reconciles with June. He begins crying, due to which Ushio and the others come out through his tears as well. As they all celebrate the death of Chibakama, Ushio's body starts to transform into a monster as the beast spear begins to devour him. Ushio slowly transforms into a beast and loses all of his senses. Miles away at the Kohamii sect, Oyakum receives a report on Ushio from the other priests. Suddenly a vision appears in front of all of them, and their founder appears to tell them that Ushio is turning into a beast. Back in Hokkaido, Ushio attacks Tora, and the others attempt to put a barrier around him to stop his movements. Back at the Kohamii sect, the founder called Jia-mei instructs the priests to use the comb which was given to Ushio to help him out, and also tells them to send a powerful mystic while she will make all the remaining arrangements. The priests call forth Shigure to deal with the matter, while Jia-mei visits various friends of Ushio to ask them for help. She visits Yu in Hokkaido, Saya in her house, as well as Reiko in his hometown, and then meets up with Nakamura and Inoue. She tells them that Ushio is transforming into a beast and asks them to help him out. In the meanwhile, Ushio frees himself from Nagare's restraints and runs into the forest. The others follow after him with the assumption that he must be heading to his relative's house. Saya arrives at Asahikawa Airport and bumps into Yu there. Shigure meets the both of them at door, and Reiko's group soon joins all of them as well. Elsewhere, Hayu gets a sign that he should go to Asahikawa to find out more about the monster he is searching for. The other beast spear candidates meet with Hinawa, and she warns them that Ushio is heading to a special place where only the true beast spear can enter, due to which they need to stop him before he can enter. As Ushio heads towards his destination, he struggles to gain control of his body and kills all the yokai that come in his way. He spots a young woman with a baby at a distance and barely manages to hurl himself out of her path before the beast takes over his body and resumes running towards his destination. Hakumen also senses that Ushio is in a weakened state and sends all the Hayo yokai towards him to kill him while he is at his weakest. Ushio sees a vision in which a man is forging the beast spear drowned in blood, and even blows fire on the weapon. The man declares that the beast spear will devour its wielder's soul in its search for Hakumen no Mano, and Ushio asks him why he hates Hakumen so much, but the forger doesn't have any answer for him. Shigure arrives at the area Kemui Moten with all of Ushio's friends, and they discover that a swarm of Hayo yokai is heading towards them, which proves to them that Ushio must be heading towards Kemui Moten as well. Shigure decides to erect a barrier with the other beast candidates and leaves Hanawa and June to take care of all the girls. As they all head away, Tora and Izuna approach Ushio, and Izuna sneakily takes out the comb from Ushi's pocket by risking his own life. At the same time, the girls all share how they became acquainted with Ushio, and Nakamura becomes emotional as she recalls how Ushio left them all alone and got into so much trouble. The beast spear candidates and Shigure work together to erect a barrier around the mountain, which keeps the Hayo yokai away. At the same time, Ushio heads straight towards the girls, and Reiko steps forward to stop him first. As Ushio arrives on the scene, Reiko runs towards him and he shoves her away, but she still manages to comb a bit of his hair, which will help him transform back into a human. Ushio runs into Saya, and Nakamura pushes him to the side to protect Saya. However, Ushio quickly turns around and shoves her away. He runs away from the girls, and Toru grabs him with his hair to stop him. He turns around and stabs him with the beast spear, which immobilizes Toru on the spot. Hinawa jumps in front of him and erects a barrier around him, which stops him temporarily. Saya then picks up the comb and jumps into the barrier since she has spiritual powers which the other girls do not have. She manages to comb away a few of Ushio's hair before the barrier pushes her out. Ushio then breaks the barrier and attempts to attack the girls, but Tora throws lightning at him to stop him. Ushio attacks Hinawa next, but June steps in front of him and erects a barrier to temporarily immobilize him. Yu then retrieves the comb from Saya and decides to comb Ushio's hair by running to the bridge, which is about to collapse. Yu runs on the bridge while June and Hinawa drop the barrier the second when Yu arrives and combs away some of Ushio's hair. She then runs to the opposite side while the bridge collapses from underneath Ushio and he regains some of his senses back. He then runs into the forest, and Inoue and Nakamura decide to chase after him. Tora saves Inoue from falling into the running stream, and Nakamura thanks Tora for saving her earlier. They both ask him to help them reach Ushio, and he reluctantly decides to help them out even though he only wants to eat them. The barrier around the mountain almost breaks when one of the mystic candidates gives in, but Satoru uses his Shikigami to attack the yokai that slip in the barrier, and the mystics then work together to strengthen the barrier once again. Jia-min arrives to meet the girls and leads them towards the cave where Ushio is heading. On the way, she reveals to Tora that the beast spear is drawn towards the cave because it contains one of Hakumen no Mano's pieces, and that they cannot recover Ushio once he enters the cave. Tora drops all the girls in front of the cave, and Inoue then runs inside the forest with the comb to confront Ushio. Tora runs after her and throws lightning on Ushio after spotting him. Ushio deflects his lightning with the beast spear and electrocutes him in return. He jumps on Inoue with the beast spear, and she holds out the comb towards him, which hits the beast spear's attack. She then gets thrown over the hill, and Tora barely manages to catch her before she can fall into the death. A few miles away, the yokai break the barrier and enter the mountain while all the priests and candidates run inside to save their lives. Tora crashes into Ushio and deliberately allows himself to be stabbed by the beast spear to restrain Ushio in his arms. Tora reminds him that he is not just a tool to kill Hakumen no Mano, and Inoue uses this chance to comb away more of Ushio's hair. Shigure and the other beast spear candidates run towards the cave to cast a barrier there, but due to the yokai's attack, they turn around and attack them to slow down their speed. Ushio lands on the ground and comes face to face with Nakamura, who now has the comb, but at the same time, the yokai rush towards the cave at full speed. Just as they arrive at the cave, Hayu arrives and places talismans all around the cave to stop the yokai for a few minutes. Inside Ushio's body, Ushio sees that the beast spear forger is approached by Jia-min, who calls him brother and asks him to stop sacrificing other people's lives due to his hatred for Hakumen no Mano. Ushio regains his senses for a while and calms down, due to which Nakamura approaches him and starts combing his hair. He notices the cave at a distance and suddenly runs towards it, so Nakamura jumps on him and pushes him off the edge of the cliff. Seconds before they collide on the ground, Ushio regains all of his senses back and grabs the beast spear. Hayu's barrier breaks, due to which all the millions of yokai rush inside, but just then, Ushio jumps in front of them and slices at the wall of yokai with his beast spear. He teams up with Tora and together they both fly into the yokai to tear them apart. Tora focuses all of his lightning onto the beast spear and Ushio then uses the beast spear on the wall of yokai which electrocutes all of them together and kills them. Afterwards, Tora lands on the ground with an exhausted Ushio on top of him and Ushio tells him that he saw a vision in which the spear had devoured him, but all his loved ones saved him. He then heads towards the cave with Tora while all the girls remain in the forest to avoid meeting him. They believe that Ushio won't be able to forgive himself if he discovers that he attacked them. Ushio and Tora head inside the cave and come across a temple which they enter. They come face to face with one of Hakumen no Mano's body fragments, and when Ushio approaches the fragment, something comes out to attack him. Ushio quickly jumps back and the fragment tentacles withdraw into the body as well. A yokai named Tokisaka appears and declares that he has been waiting for the beast spear to appear and will show the truth to Ushio now that he has finally arrived. He reveals that he can show Ushio how the beast spear was created and then narrates a story. Long ago, the beast spear was created after Hakumen no Mano was injured and fled into hiding. The humans kept searching for it, but since they could never find it, they decided to use one of Hakumen's body fragments to lure the body spear to their side. One of the priests volunteered to act as a liaison between the humans and yokai, and it turned out that the priest was actually Jie-mei who knew about Hakumen's original location as well. She told everyone that her bloodline will seal Hakumen inside a barrier till the beast spear is ready to defeat Hakumen, and that her own brother was the one who created the beast spear. Since Ushio and Tora are too dumb to understand Tokisaka's tales, Tokisaka conjures a ball of energy and teleport the both of them back into time 2,200 years ago. Ushio and Tora appear at the ancient capital of China and Tokisaka leaves the both of them alone with the promise to come back soon. Seconds after Ushio lands on the ground, he comes across Jie-mei and introduces himself to her. Suddenly a yokai appears from underneath the ground and attacks Jie-mei, so Ushio attacks the yokai with a stone while Tora electrocutes the yokai which kills him. Jie-mei takes Ushio to her home to thank him for saving her life and introduces him to her mom. They tell him how the city was attacked by a great yokai Hakumen no Mano 500 years ago, and that the current king fears the yokai's return, due to which he has promised to grant anyone great wealth and priesthood if they forge a sword that can take down Hakumen. Jie-mei's father arrives as well, and Ushio learns that he is a swordsmith who wants to forge a sword for the king to defeat Hakumen. The whole family then welcomes Jie-mei's brother Jiryu, who had gone for swordsmith training and has only just arrived back. He warns the whole family that Hakumen no Mano has been sighted nearby and is soon coming to attack the city. The father and son decide to throw their lives into building the beast spear and present it to the king. They work day and night, but all the swords end up cracking and Jie-mei's father begins to despair that maybe he cannot make the sword. Jie-mei also tells Ushio that his dad worked as an official swordsmith, due to which their family used to live inside the palace, but due to a relative's plan to kill the king, their family was kicked out as punishment. Jiryu tells his father that he has learned about a dark art which can help forge the ultimate sword, and that they need a woman's hair to throw into the melted steel furnace. Jie-mei's mother offers up her hair, and once again Jiryu and Jie-mei's father attempt to make the sword from scratch. After a few days, they finish making the ultimate holy sword, and Jie-mei's father along with dozens of other swordsmiths present themselves in front of the king. It turns out that Hakumen no Mano was present in the court all along and had hidden himself in guise of a court woman to slowly make the king go mad. Hakumen decides to show himself in front of all the swordsmiths and uses the bodies of all the court ladies to appear in his full form. All the swordsmiths rush at him with their weapons, but Hakumen kills all of them in one move and destroys all their weapons. Jie-mei's father gets swept in the same race and gets killed as well. Hakumen attacks more people standing around him, and as a result, Jie-mei's mother gets killed as well. Ushio picks up a spear lying nearby and rushes at Hakumen in a fit of anger, but Hakumen's stare stops him dead in the tracks. Hakumen blows fire at him while Ushio remains frozen on spot, and Tora blows fire at him in retaliation. Tora uses the distraction to escape with Ushio while Hakumen flies above the palace and begins to wreak havoc around the city. After it sets the whole city on fire, it flies away, leaving everyone to die behind him. Afterwards, Jie-mei wakes up to find that her parents have died. She tells Ushio that he must have come from another place and asks him to share details about himself. After she goes to sleep, Ushio comes out and finds Jiryu punching his hand in the stone in deep despair. He stops him from hurting himself and assures him that he will be able to make Beast Spear. Jiryu confides in him about a dark art which can be used to make the holy sword. According to the legend, there was a lord who commanded a bell maker to make a magnificent bell, and the bell maker made a number of bells, but they all ended up breaking at the end. He then sacrificed his daughter for his cause and made a magnificent bell which rang throughout the area. Jiryu declares that he can never think of sacrificing anyone, but out of nowhere, Jieme appears on the iron stove. She happily declares that she can sacrifice her life for her father's cause, and then jumps into the stove while Jiryu and Ushio fail to protect her. After she dies, Jiryu and Ushio remain in despair. However, Jiryu gets up after a while and starts to forge a weapon in the furnace mixture where Jieme died. He starts to bleed out of his eyes, and his hatred pours itself on the weapon as he calls himself an Oni for not being able to save their lives. As he pummels the weapon, he compliments Ushio's kind heart and hopes that he can fight alongside him one. Suddenly, Jiryu disappears, and in his stead, the beast spear appears on the ground. Ushio's name carves itself on the weapon, and he realizes that the spear's rounded blade is actually Jieme while Jiryu is the weapon's shaft. Tora jumps on the spear to get rid of it. However, the spear flies in the air and flees from the scene. Jieme appears along with Tokisaka, and they take Ushio and Tora back into the present. As they move through the time, Jinmei reveals that the beast spear went from one continent to the next to search for Hakumen no Mano. However, it couldn't find the monster and, in its search, killed countless yokai in its stead. The yokai banded together to get rid of the spear, and they were successfully able to seal it deep in the mountains. In the meantime, Jieme's spirit searched for Hakumen no Mano and was reincarnated as a person named Yuki in Japan. She fought against Hakumen no Mano with a group of priests, and when Hakumen fled to a hiding place after a great battle, she went after him. The Hakumen no Mano then fled deep into the sea where it emerged its body with a key pillar of the Japanese island. When Jieme approached him, it warned her that all of Japanese islands will crumble if it leashes out its powers. The army of yokai also approached the area to finish off Hakumen, due to which Jieme erected a powerful barrier around Hakumen to protect it from the army of yokai. She kept up the barrier for 2 centuries, and at the time of her death, she chose her successor in the form of a girl from her bloodline called Hizaki Mikado. Hizaki also maintained the barrier for another 300 years. However, when her strength left her, she chose another successor who was actually Ushio's mom Sumako, who was from Hizaki's bloodline. Jieme informs Ushio that her mom is still at the bottom of the ocean maintaining Hakumen's barrier. After narrating the whole story, Jieme and the yokai leave Ushio and Tora in the cave, and the beast spear also appears in front of Ushio. Deep in the mountains, a woman approaches a red cloth. A yokai warns her that the red cloth used to bound a very dangerous weapon once upon a time, and she casually informs him that the weapon is now in Japan. She then proceeds to kill all the yokai which are surrounding the area as if it's playtime for her. In the meanwhile, Ushio arrives home and attends school after a month. His classmates cheerfully welcome him back, and even he doesn't find school irritating after skipping it for so long. On the way back home, Inoue thanks Tora for all his help in the recent incident, and he reminds her that Ushio doesn't remember anything that happened with all the girls, but she believes that it's alright even if he doesn't know anything. Nakamura invites Ushio to her home for dinner, but he declines the invitation since Shigeru is also making dinner for the night. He then notices a kid in the middle of a road and hurls him out of the way just when a truck is about to run into the kid. He scolds the kid for being so distracted, and the kid in return calls him out by his name. Later, Ushio arrives home only to find out that Shigeru has left to do some job and won't be making dinner. Suddenly, a few spikes appear from the ground, and Ushio runs outside only to come across the same kid who was saved by him earlier. The kid introduces himself as Inesa and calls himself the actual inheritor of the beast spear. At the same time, Shigeru visits the Kohami-ai sect elders where he specifically meets with Oyakun. Suddenly, a dark miasma gathers in the air, and a portion of Hakumen no Mano appears in the sky. It tells the priests and the beast spear candidates that it has come to pass judgment on behalf of Hakumen. The kid informs Ushio that his weapon called Elzer and his yokai Keen are both stronger than his weapon and yokai, due to which he should hand over his burden to him. Tora lunges at him after hearing his insult and throws lightning at the other yokai, but Keen throws lightning back at him. Keen then pushes him back, and just then, Shigeru arrives in a helicopter. He takes both Ushio and Inesa with him and tells them on the way that one of Hakumen's pieces is attacking the Kohami-ai sect. At the Kohami-ai sect premises, Nijira works together with the beast spear candidates and other priests to cast multiple barriers on Hakumen's body, which manage to stop its movements. Shigeru arrives with Ushio, and Nijira instructs him to take Ushio to meet Oyakun first. Shigeru takes him inside the building and informs him that Oyakun is actually Hizaki Mikado, who maintained the barrier around Hakumen no Mono 300 years ago. Ushio meets with Hizaki and they both chit-chat with each other like they are old pals. Hizaki feels glad that Ushio is the boy who has inherited the beast spear and even feels nostalgic about her normal mundane life which she had to abandon due to Hakumen no Mono. The building starts to crumble, due to which Ushio runs out to join the others, while Hizaki feels glad that she could meet Ushio at her last time. Outside the building, Hakumen resists against the priest's binding, and the beast candidates jump on him to attack him, but Hakumen's fragment easily pushes them back. Inasa watches everything from a distance and sends Keen to fight with Tora, who is also watching the same thing. Ushio rushes to the scene and blindly jumps on Hakumen to attack him. Hakumen easily deflects the spear's attack as well, and uses the momentum to throw the priest's barriers back on them, which immobilizes them in their place. Hizaki jumps in front of the priests and erects a barrier which blocks further attacks from Hakumen. She reminds Hakumen that a fragment like him can never defeat her. Hakumen attempts to pierce her barrier, but Hizaki uses her powers to kill the Hakumen in one go. The Hakumen's piece crumbles to dust while Hizaki collapses on the ground. Inasa seizes the opportunity and lands the killing blow on Hakumen's body, while Ushio rushes to Hizaki's side in worry. She tells him that she can never defeat Hakumen no alone if he is alone, and tells all the priests to work together before passing away. After she dies, Inasa flexes his killing spree and Nijira asks him to accompany him inside. Afterwards, Inasa's mother compliments all of his efforts and asks him to destroy the beast spear. After Hizaki's death, Ushio starts to despair that he is too weak to protect anyone. One day Tora attacks him out of the blue and prompts him to fight with him. He mocks him for being a weak wuss, and as Ushio fights against him, he admits that he is a weak man. Tora easily blocks all of his attacks and then flies away after taunting him that he will come back once he is stronger. At the Kohamei sect, the young monks start to believe that they do not need the beast spear after hearing Inasa boast about his own weapon and dissing the beast spear openly. They believe that Inasa's powers defeated the Hakumen rather than Hizaki's powers, and Nijira recalls how Inasa's ideology is inspired by a specific man who is actually Inasa's father. In the meanwhile, Inasa and a group of young monks corner Ushio at his home and ask him to hand the beast spear over to them. They all put a barrier on him, but Ushio resists their advances and breaks the barriers. He blocks all of their attacks, so Inasa takes out a special red cloth that was used to bind the bind spear many years ago and uses it to pull the beast spear out of Ushio's hands. The monks then bind Ushio with a barrier and head away with his beast spear. Later, Hinawa finds Ushio's body engulfed in a barrier and breaks him free by using her own spell. At the same time, Nagar and Tora arrive at the temple and find that Ushio was attacked. At the Kohamei sect, the priests voice out their doubts that they do not believe in the beast spear's powers any longer. They then receive the news that the beast spear has been stolen from Ushio, which further proves their doubts. Suddenly, Ushio storms inside and asks Nagar to tell him where the beast spear has been taken to. Nagar takes him inside and tells him about an ex-monk named Inaba who believed in the superiority of weapons that he made. He made a lot of powerful equipment for the Kohamei sect, but somehow got lost his way and started preaching that they should stop waiting for the beast spear to appear and just make their own weapons. He was then kicked out of the sect. However, 2 years ago he appeared with a kid named Inasa who later became the beast spear candidate due to his enormous mystic powers. Tora and Nagar arrive at a house where Inaba was rumored to have fled to and barge inside only to come across a bunch of monsters. They work together to defeat all the monsters and then run into a room which is filled with scythes that resemble Inasa's weapon. At the same time, Hinawa and Ushio also arrive at the same place via a helicopter and land on the building. Tora and Nagar barge inside a room and come across Inaba's old, withered body along with some of his notes. Hinawa and Ushio also beat a number of monsters as they run inside the building and then come across Inasa's diary. It turns out that Inaba was actually attempting to make an artificial homunculus that resembled a yokai, but his research never got far. However, he met a woman named Tawako one day who was an expert in Western sorcery and helped in his research, due to which he was soon able to make the ultimate weapon Elzer Scythe. Ushio and Hinawa run into Nagar and Tora and they get chased by an artificial yokai who blows them out of the building. They fight against him together and hold him off. In the past, after Inaba and Tawako made the ultimate weapon, Tawako stole a child and experimented on him to make him the perfect weapon. The child was artificially raised in the lab and turned out to be Inasa, who could yield the Elzer Scythe and would destroy the beast spear. At the same time, Inasa binds the beast spear on the red cloth to seal away its powers. Nagar and Hinawa hold the artificial yokai off, even though their legs have been badly injured and they cannot move. On their insistence, Ushio and Tora run off to retrieve the beast spear, which is about to sealed off forever. They come across Keen first, who attacks Tora right off the bat, and Tora in return also blows fire at him. Keen attaches himself on the ground and thrusts spikes into Tora's body from underneath the ground. As Tora lies stuck on the spikes, Keen mocks Tora for choosing a weak partner like Ushio, while Ushio tries to break the spikes by striking them with a hard rock. Keen then attacks Ushio as well, but Tora suddenly breaks the spikes and attacks Keen after getting triggered by his words. He overpowers him with his brute strength and pushes him back while Ushio runs inside for the beast spear. He enters a room where beast spear is about to be sealed off by the young monks and Inasa, and the young monks attempt to persuade him that they do not need the beast spear to fight Hakumen. They push Ushio back while Tawako appears and starts to play the violin. The beast spear gets lowered into a mixture of lead and mercury which can destroy it forever, while Ushio runs to its side to retrieve it. He summons the spear to his side but gets no response from it. Inasa tells the young monks that he learnt everything about the beast spear from his mom Tawako, and just then Shiger appears on a side. He throws a temple wheel at Tawako, which shoves her into a wall and reveals her true form. It turns out that Tawako was Hakumen's yokai all along, and the monks realize that they were tricked by Hakumen all along to destroy the beast spear. Tawako jumps at the monks and begins to kill them one by one, while Inasa also comes to the grim realization that Tawako used him all along just to destroy the beast spear. He begins to cry loudly, and Tawako shoves him to the side easily. She also throws Ushio on the mixture which sealed off the beast, and which has been hardened now. He begins to whine about his pathetic, useless behavior, but stops when Jiryu's face comes out of the mixture and asks him to fight with him. Ushio declares that he doesn't want anyone else to die, and also tells Jiryu that he will fight with him. He then calls forth the beast spear. However, Tawako notices his movements and pulls him back. She shoves her tentacle in his chest, but he doesn't give up this time and summons the beast spear one more time. The spear listens to him this time and plunges out of the hardened mixture into Ushio's hands. He rushes at Tawako and stabs her in the chest with the spear. Tawako summons her yokai in desperation, and the huge golem yokai appears holding Nagar and Hinawa. She threatens to kill Nagar and Hinawa if he doesn't back down, so Nagar advises Ushio to remove the writing on the golem's head to kill it. He and Hinawa begin chanting a spell which can self-destruct their bodies, and seeing their resolve, Ushio puts down the beast spear as well. The golem attacks Ushio with a magical spell, but Ushio quickly uses the beast spear to block the spell, and then jumps on the golem's head to erase the writing, which kills it immediately. Nagar and Hinawa get saved as a result, while Keen rushes to Inasa's side. With no way out, Tawako rushes to Inasa's side and begs him to help her escape. She convinces him that she was just lying to him earlier, and he attacks Ushio to save her. Ushio blocks all of his attacks and instructs him to open his eyes. In the meanwhile, Tawako attempts to escape. However, Shiger and Nagar erect a barrier around the building which prevents her from leaving. She then summons hellfire around the priests to attack them instead, and seeing her behavior, Inasa stabs her from behind. She collapses on the ground while Inasa asks her in tears whether she really lied to him. She assures him that she loved him and then bursts into flames. After her death, Inasa once again loses his mind and begins attacking the people around him, so Ushio takes him on and blocks his attacks. He slaps him to bring him back to his senses and reminds him that he needs to focus on the future. After Inasa calms down, he leaves the building with Keen while Tora once again joins Ushio's side. That's all for today, my fellow men of culture. If you guys enjoyed watching the video, make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more anime recaps.